Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. How is everybody doing out there? Tonight it is January 26, 2022. That is a Wednesday. I hope everyone had a good day today. I am here to, as I always do, go over an article I find important on the day and opine on it, talk about it, enjoy it, discuss it, all the above, all the good stuff that I enjoy doing in my everyday life. So here I bring it to you. So first things first, we're going to have to talk about a story I did 2 days ago. Real quick, there's some update that came out about the ID.me story, which is something I'm going to continue to bring up because I think it's the most important story that everybody is ignoring right now. So I'm going to continue to kind of bash its brain in every time there's something, at least try and talk about it daily to get more people out there and kind of annoy people into looking into it more a little bit. So it came out today. There was an article written today on the 26th from The Verge that ID.me does use facial recognition to match against databases. Their CEO, Blake Hall, admits he's a goddamn liar. That's all it is. He claimed to use a one-to-one database, basically matching up to a picture that you send them to another picture and you know what they see in front of them, as opposed to having a sophisticated database that searches for likenesses and everything to see if you're the person. Kind of like what you see in like the cool little detective things and like Dexter used to use, if anyone watched Dexter, where they kind of put in a few like facial recognitions and it runs, you see 1,000 people flowing, flickering in and out, quick, and it stops. 100% match, that type of thing. He was claiming they didn't use that. He came out in a LinkedIn post and said that they use that exactly. They use it to the selfies. They tied to government programs that are targeted by organized crime, prevent prolific identity thieves and members of organized crime from stealing identities, innocent victims in mass. So essentially, he said that I lied to you so that my secret didn't come out to keep you safer. So he's willing to lie in order in the name of safety. So we know he's a stand-up guy. He's really somebody I want to trust with my identity and government things going on. So yeah, I don't want to branch too much into that because I don't want to go over that article again. I already just did something on that. So I don't want to bring that back completely, but I do want to keep it in the air because it's extremely important. ID.me, public-private partnerships, really look into it. Not a good thing. We're about to have digital passports. Don't worry about vaccine passports anymore. It was a smokescreen from the beginning. Digital passports are the worry, and they are here. Know about them. Maybe we're not too late to kind of push back on them. All right. So with that, I'm going to get into the article of the day. It's an article from the Post Millennial, and it was written by Libby Emmons. And the title is Biden's DOJ recommends lesser sentence for arsonist who killed a man because he lit the blaze for Black Lives Matter. Yeah, and when we read the article, it's really not that far-fetched that that's the title because it's true. Let's go. Montez Terrell Lee Jr. of Rochester, New York, was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison after being convicted for arson that resulted in a man's death. More than 2 months after the arson, 30-year-old Oscar Lee Stewart was found dead in the rubble. Lee set the blaze during the riots after George Floyd's death. So right there, 10 years is already pretty serious in federal prison. That sucks. So it's a pretty harsh sentence. So it got reduced. We'll see why. Let's keep going. While sentencing guidelines indicate that Lee should have been incarcerated for over 200 months, that's a little bit over 16 years, closer to 17 years. So that's where that would have ended up. A memo from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota at the time of sentencing recommended a lesser sentence. The U.S. Attorney stated that while quote, Mr. Lee committed a crime that cost a man his life, end quote, his motives for setting the blaze should have been taken into consideration at sentencing. Let's stop there. I'm sorry. When it comes to the law, the motive usually is used to accuse people in terms of murder. You're usually trying to find a motive for why somebody did the killing, not why we should be taking the killing less seriously, I guess, in a way, or giving them less. Unless you're arguing self-defense, then that's different in terms of the motive for why this person should be let off or get a lesser sentence. This is not the argument here for this. Let's continue with the article. Quote, Mr. Lee's motive for setting the fire is a foremost issue, end quote, the U.S. Attorney's Office wrote. Quote, Mr. Lee credibly states that he was in the streets to protest unlawful police violence against Black men, and there is no basis to disbelieve this statement. Mr. Lee, appropriately, acknowledges that he could have demonstrated in a different way, but that he was caught up in the fury of the mob after living as a Black man, watching his peers suffer at the hands of police, end quote. So we are supposed to be okay with this. That's an excuse. Granted, he's getting 10 years. So it's not like he's getting off scot-free. Let's not lose focus of that. But this U.S. attorney is creating a loophole just by making this statement that if it is done in the act of something that the social justice warriors preach as virtuous, that it is the right thing to be mad about, the right thing to riot about, then that's okay. Then he shouldn't get a maximum sentence. You shouldn't get a harsher sentence, lesser sentence, maybe get off scot-free. Let's continue here. As anyone watching the news worldwide knows, many other people in Minnesota were similarly caught up. There appear to have been many people in those days looking only to exploit the chaos and disorder in the interest of personal gain or random violence. There appear also to have been many people who felt angry, frustrated, and disenfranchised, and who were attempting, in many cases in an unacceptably reckless and dangerous manner, to give voice to those feelings. Mr. Lee appears to be squarely in this latter category. That was continuing from the U.S. attorney there. Now, let's hold up again. How is he not in the category of random violence? Setting ablaze to a store is sending a message of anger, frustration, disenfranchisement, burning a property down and killing a man. That's what you get out of it. Not an act of random violence. To me, setting something on fire is an act of random violence. You want to be pissed. You want to be frustrated. You want to be disenfranchised. You want to scream. You want to yell. You want to be pissed. You know, that's you want to walk the streets screaming and yelling, chanting. That is that to me. Angry, frustrated, disenfranchised, cursing off a cop to his face while you're in the protest. Any counter protesters screaming back at them, possibly getting into an altercation if it's provoked. Like that right there, that is the angry, frustration, disenfranchised. Setting a building on fire is random violence. It is random violence. That's chaos and disorder. That is not the latter. This is a complete and total lie by this U.S. attorney, a complete and total lie. Let's continue. As such, the U.S. Attorney's Office requested a sentence of 144 months down from the recommended more than 200 months, and Judge Wilhelmina M. Wright granted the 120-month term. So, again, it is still a serious amount of time. 10 years is a serious amount of time. But this is a bad precedent. This is a bad precedent that a U.S. attorney, a federal attorney, is getting involved to talk down sentences for people that destroyed towns and killed somebody. Where does this start? Where does this stop? That's a question. I know people always make fun of the slippery slope, but where does this stop? There was a death here. There was a death of an innocent person. Just because you're doing something in the name of righteousness doesn't make it right. Islamist terrorists are doing something in the name of righteousness to their eyes. They believe they're doing it for Allah. They're doing it for martyrdom. It is not correct. Killing innocent people is never righteous. It is never correct. The Crusades were meant to be righteous. They were wrong. Just because you are doing something that you believe is correct or a group of people believe is correct for the correct cause doesn't make it right if it's a violent act. Doesn't make it right if an innocent life is lost or any life is lost. It is not right. Let's continue. Lee, along with others, set fire to the Maxit pawn shop in Minneapolis during the destructive George Floyd riots on May 28th, 2020. So stop right there. Where are the others? Where are the others? I hope it comes out that the others are getting arrested and tried too and are going to get sentenced as well. But let's see what happens, though, because if there are others, are we going to see other U.S. attorneys or the same one step in and talk down for a lesser sentence? I would love to continue to follow this because Lee, along with others, so if Lee was the one that threw it and set fire, then it's his fault. But if there were others that also set the fire, then we need to bring them in and they need to be arrested and they need to be put in jail as well. That is the only verdict here. Or is this journalist on Post Millennial here trying to put along with others to kind of obfuscate Lee? Because I don't like that inclusion. I don't like that inclusion right there. If you're going to say along with others, then you need to tell us who the others are, and the others need to be arrested and the others need to be sentenced, because this is wrong, what this man did. Let's continue. Quote, I refuse not to learn from this experience and hope to make something positive from it, end quote. Lee vowed at sentencing. Quote, this moment in life doesn't define who I am, but it can help mold me into the person I want to be, end quote. Lee had pled guilty to the single count of arson in July 2021. On that same night, another blaze destroyed the Minneapolis 3rd Precinct building. Lee said he found the gas can that he used to torch the building inside the building. In requesting a lesser sentence, prosecutors noted a photo of Lee holding up his fist, a symbol of Black power. Quote, the raised fist Mr. Lee showed and his brazenness in committing the crime is telling. Mr. Lee was terribly misguided and his actions had tragic, unthinkable consequences. But he appears to have believed that he was, in Dr. King's eloquent words, engaging in the language of the unheard. That is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever seen. Just because he's showing a Black power sign, which I must say is not a Dr. King thing. Black power is a Black Panthers thing. Black power is more closer to Malcolm X, not Dr. King. So using Dr. King's words, listen, we praise Dr. King as a patron saint for some of his quotes. He had certain things in there that were also set radical as well. He was not always on the completely and totally righteous side. Every man has flaws. Dr. King was more good than bad, but he has flaws. We all do. None of us are perfect. But to misuse this quote as a way to get him off and try and put the Black power fist in the air to represent what Dr. King was preaching is wrong. That is not a Dr. King tenet. The Black power fist is not something that he was involved in. From what I know, that was more of a Black Panthers, Malcolm X thing. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If Dr. Martin Luther King completely supported the fist symbolizing Black power, because from what I understood, that was more the militaristic side of it all. But I could be wrong. But overall, the moral of the story here is we're living in upside down world. We're living in a world of Herbert Marcuse's repressive tolerance. And what that essentially says is tolerate things that go on from the left to completely untolerate anything from the right. That's what it is. And we're seeing that here in the attempt of the U.S. attorney. He's trying to preach sympathy for a man that recklessly set fire to a building, killing an individual. The motives, what he believed he was doing, the righteousness of it does not have a factor, should not have a factor in the law. Like I said, motive for death should only be considered in the term of self-defense, a la Kyle Rittenhouse. His motive was used properly there and needed to be assessed in order to say whether he murdered someone or if he acted in self-defense. Here, the motive of rioting for a righteous cause and happening to kill people because I did property damage by setting a place on fire, which is dangerous, extremely dangerous. Lucky it only killed one person. Honestly, sad that that person died. That's tragic, but it's fortunate no one else got caught up in it, or that no other buildings got caught up in it. But to say that this person deserves a lesser sentence because what they were doing was righteous and they were angry and they were doing it for the right cause, and then quoting Dr. King, absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So this is something we need to keep track of. Because if Libby Emmons ever gets a hold of this, if you know who, along with others, who the others are that helped him burn this place down and kill a man, please put their names out there. We need to know who, along with others, are. Because if there truly were others that burned down that building, they need to be joining Lee behind bars. If there were not, and he's the only one, then we need to get rid of that sentence because it takes away Lee's accountability here. And that's the last thing we need to do. People need to be held up more accountable for their actions and things that they're doing, not less. All right. So that is the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that article there. I'm going to continue to bring it here. You guys are going to be able to get a double dose here today. Hopefully you either are going to listen to the Alex Cuesta show or have already listened to the Alex Cuesta show and now piled on with the Alex Cuesta Daily Show because you can't get enough of me. Hopefully you did that and you're supporting us in every which way. You're liking, sharing, following everything here that I'm doing. You're subscribing wherever you can. You're rating 5 stars wherever you can. And you're telling people about us. I'm very proud of the work that I'm doing right now. I truly enjoy reading through all the articles and coming to you and bringing my opinion and talking about these articles and reading them in full. The one about the IDME was so long, was ID.me was so long because I read it in full. It was a long form article. It wasn't a quick article, but I read these in full for a reason because a lot of places don't read them in full. And then they get accused of taking things out of context. I read them in full so they're all in context. Yes, I jump in with my opinions, I opine, but I'm reading you word for word what goes on. Sometimes I suck at reading and I miss a word, sorry. But I am reading you word for word. So that's the goal here. That's the point. I hope everybody enjoys what I'm doing. I'm going to continue doing it. And you should be getting a double dose here. Alex Cuesta Show, always featuring my brother David there. So that's what you're going to get. I really hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I know I did. I didn't enjoy the premise of it because I think it's kind of fucked up, but I enjoyed doing it because it's fun to do. So again, everyone, I really appreciate you all for listening. I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Have a good one.